So the OKC Thunder defeated the Brooklyn Nets today 121-107. With this win and the Pelicans losing today, they officially are in the play-in contention right now, behind the Los Angeles Lakers, who did win against the Pelicans. So, I mean, looking at it right now, the OKC Thunder moving into playoff contention or play-in contention is definitely great for them. They are currently still rebuilding. They do have some pieces that they really do need on this team to make them a lot better or even make them championship contending teams. But I think right now, with what pieces they have, they definitely are better off than where they were a couple of seasons ago. I mean, they do have a guy like Chet Holmgren who's still injured. They have some good supporting pieces and guys like Isaiah Joe, Trey Mann, Jalen Williams, both of the Jay Williams. I mean, even Dort, he's been pretty good. Josh Giddey. We have a lot of guys on this team that definitely have a lot of potential, but I mean, they are still a few pieces away. They are still in playoff contention or playing contention, so we'll see what happens with them in the play-in. I think they're going to be one of the more deadlier teams to watch out for, but we'll get into the box score talking about the OKC Thunder game right here. So Shea, he dropped 35 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists with 1 steal on 12 of 24 from the field and 1-1 from 3. 4 of the 5 starters dropped double figures, except for the Jalen Williams that plays the center position, not the other one that plays power forward, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I mean, I think everyone today played pretty well, and even off the bench, they had some pretty good players that gave them some good minutes in their limited roles. So Josh Giddey today, 15 points, 13 rebounds, 10 assists, 2 steals. He played pretty well today. 7 of 19 from the field, isn't too efficient. 1 of 3 from 3, but did his facilitating thing. And I think he did play a pretty good part in supporting the other guys. I think he was getting some guys some pretty good buckets, setting them up, and just being the guy that can facilitate the offense. So Lou Dort, 24 points, 9 rebounds, and 1 assist with 1 steal on 9 of 16 from the field and 6 of 11 from 3. I mean, Dort, he's going to have games like these where he's going to be very efficient from the 3, but I mean, some games he's going to be pretty inefficient. Over the season, he's shooting around 40% from the field and 34% from 3, so he isn't the best in terms of shooting the ball and being efficient, but in terms of, playing defense, being where he needs to be, and just guarding up the best player on the opposing team, I mean, that's really what you want him to do. If only he could develop an offensive game somewhere around the 3-point range, I think he definitely would be a good system match for this team. Something that can just knock down the 3 and just play some good perimeter defense, just like Robert Covington, kind of like that. So I think Lou Dort had a pretty good game. Hopefully we can see more of this moving forward, especially in the playing contention when they really need him to perform like this. So finally, or second last, we have Jalen Williams, the other one. I believe this guy is the one that's top 3 in the Rookie of the Year race. So he played 36 minutes and had 23 points and 10 rebounds with 3 assists and 2 steals on 8 of 10 from the field. Now, Jalen Williams has been impressing me a lot recently, and since the second half of the season, he's been absolutely amazing. He's shooting 52 from the field and 35 from 3. I mean, Jalen Williams, he's been a guy that I think has been going under the radar, and I think moving forward, he's going to be a really big piece to this roster. Now, I saw a tweet a couple weeks ago saying that they should prioritize Jalen Williams' development over Josh Giddey. Now, you guys come, if you guys really agree with that. I think both players have some pretty high ceilings, but I mean, with Josh Giddey, I think he definitely has the potential to become a good, I don't know, a good second guy behind Shea, but also with Jalen Williams. I mean, I think he also has the potential to become that guy beside Shea too. So they both have high ceilings, both high potentials. We'll see what happens with both of them in their futures, but they're both really good young players, and especially with Jalen Williams being 21 years old and a rookie, and Josh Giddey being a sophomore at 20 years old. I mean, this team definitely has a lot of potential. Adding in Chet Holmgren too, still from injuries, and I think this team's definitely going to be more or less a championship contending team, hopefully within the next 2 to 3 years. Hopefully, if Shea doesn't want out by then, because I think, Shea, he's in the prime of his career, being only 24 years old. I mean, maybe he's not even in the prime. Maybe he gets even better down the line in his career, which is definitely something scary to watch out for this guy. I mean, Shea, he's been absolutely amazing this year and could be a throw-in for the MVP award. So off the bench, I mean, there's some guys I want to talk about here. Isaiah Joe, 5 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and 1 steal on 2 of 8 from the field. I think Joe definitely has a lot of potential for the 6-man role on this team. He's a good knockdown shooter, someone that can just knock down the occasional 3. Obviously, he didn't really shoot well today from 3, 1 of 5, but I think moving into the future, this guy definitely has a really high ceiling for being a 6-man top role for this team, kind of like a DeAnthony Melton on the Philadelphia 76ers, but also a guy that can just play some good defense defense. I mean, he is only 23 years old. They picked him up from Philly, which is ironic talking about D'Anthony Melton, but I think Isaiah Joe definitely has that potential. Some other guys I want to talk about. Dario Saric, I think he provides a pretty good veteran presence on this team. Someone that's going to hold the guys accountable, but also be a guy that can give them some good minutes. And I think having that backup option in Dario Saric at the center position is definitely something good for this team. I think, acquiring him from the trade deadline and him being able to just give guys some pointers, kind of guide them, but also be a guy that can still provide some good stats is definitely something you want from a rebuilding team. I mean, Houston can take notes from this because they definitely need some vets, but I think what OKC is doing right now is definitely the direction they want to go into the future, but also getting some pieces that are going to help them win maybe 2 or 3 years from now, like I said, but also just keeping pieces close to them, kind of like their first round assets or first round pick assets, and just young players in general that they can trade to get better pieces essentially. So yeah, I mean, OKC with this win, they are 34-35 over the season, and I think with the NBA season, regular season coming down to a close here pretty soon, the playoffs are definitely going to be interesting. I mean, even in the East, there's definitely a lot more competitive, teams this season, especially with, Philly, Milwaukee, Boston, even the Nets, who, although they did lose this game, they still are a pretty underrated team with guys like Mikal Bridges, Nick Claxton, and Cam Johnson. I think this year for the NBA is definitely going to be a lot more competitive in, the playoffs, and hopefully we'll see some more competitiveness from teams. I mean, last season in the playoffs, it definitely wasn't all too great, especially the finals. I mean, you guys can say your opinions, but I didn't really like the Celtics and the Warriors finals because it was just not that good for me. And I wasn't really invested into basketball after the regular season. So yeah, you guys can let me know what you guys think about the OKC Thunder. I know they still have a lot more pieces to work out with. I think they just acquired Jared Butler too. Guys like Pokuševski, he's been pretty good. Jeremiah Robinson Earl, I know he has some potential to play the four, but overall, this team has a lot of good pieces and a lot of good young pieces at that. They need to make some moves if they want to win in the future to better their roster. I think they have a good core in Shea, Giddey, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren. I think they need to get a solid backup center and some pieces off the bench. And I think we're talking about maybe an underrated playoff team come 2 to 3 years from now. So we'll see what happens with the OKC Thunder. You guys can let me know what you guys think about them. That's the end. I'm out.